Particularly brutal battlefield of this uprising. Tony Bertley went to meet the people there.
More than 40 years of iron-fisted rule virtually over, and Libya's second city, Benghazi, is still celebrating. The old and the young taking to the streets to embrace a new era.
This is feeling I had never, ever been felt before.
It's liberation, but at a price. People here say that more than 750 were killed in the uprising, over 1,000 wounded. This is the coffin of 64-year-old Saad Zoué, a bus driver shot dead by Gaddafi loyalists, a simple man who wanted something many take for granted, freedom and democracy.
He was only a driver. He had nothing to do with Gaddafi.
His anger is shared by millions who are now finally able to speak out about the oppression and brutality of their leader.
All the people, they used to work with Gaddafi, they're out. We need them out. We need a new system.
To cheers and rapturous applause, a pre-Gaddafi Libyan flag was unrolled on a government building in the centre of Benghazi. Gaddafi may still be in power, but here they feel their suffering at his hands is almost over.
There is a tremendous sense of jubilation here, a tremendous sense of freedom and liberation. It's an electric atmosphere, you can feel it all around. But there is a small note of apprehension. Gaddafi's elite brigades and his mercenaries are about 400 kilometres from here. That's just over a 3-hour drive. And the Libyan leader is showing no signs of going just yet.
The uprising was aimed against the state apparatus. Police buildings were burned and the heavy weapons used as the arm of oppression have been turned into souvenir props.
Libya, Libya!
Above it all, they shout Libya, at peace with their beloved country, but at war with their leader. And all eyes are now on Tripoli. With most of eastern Libya in the hands of the opposition, the momentum is growing and forces are now building for an assault against the remaining Gaddafi strongholds. In Benghazi, they no longer say good morning, they say instead new beginning. For them, it has begun. For the capital and a few other towns, they'll have to wait for just a little while longer. Tony Bertley, AlJazeera, Benghazi, Libya.
Well, as pro-democracy supporters gain control of cities in eastern Libya, many of Gaddafi's properties have been ransacked and destroyed. Jackie Rowland gives us a glimpse into one of his so-called palaces.
Every dictator has his palaces, and Muammar Gaddafi is no exception. We toured this once sumptuous residence on the outskirts of Al-Baida, now burned and looted by local people. The Libyan leader and his guests could enjoy a covered swimming pool, a sauna and a jacuzzi, all set in landscaped gardens planted with fragrant hedges. At the end of one pathway, a heavy airtight door leads down to an underground world. A rabbit warren of staircases, reinforced doors and narrow passages. The complex appears designed to withstand an attack by unconventional weapons.
So now we're getting into the nerve centre of Gaddafi's bunker. And you can see here that he's really set up to withstand a nuclear apocalypse. He's got a whole air system down here. He's got emergency generators. You can see that he's got air fans, fire alarm. If we look over here, all the different filters, water pumps, you see. He could quite possibly survive, or he could have survived down here for several months. And it's actually really interesting as well, when you look at some of these little stickers here, it's showing the maintenance that was run. You can actually see, look, the last test run on the 14th of January this year, test run okay. So this equipment was being seriously maintained and seriously kept up to date. And it would appear that it's all the work of a Swiss company called Lua. So here we've got an American company here. This is some kind of an air filter system. You see you've got all these kind of filter fabric here, this non-woven fabric that must have been to keep toxins or whatever out. And Dwyer Instruments, Michigan City, USA.
The living quarters include 2 bathrooms with flushing toilets. This concrete underworld gives a glimpse of the kind of paranoia which must exist in Gaddafi's inner circle.
And now we seem to have a kind of back exit or an emergency exit, if you like, this fixed ladder that will take us back up to the surface again.
Jackie Rowland, Al Jazeera in eastern Libya.
Well, stay with us here in Al Jazeera. The pressure on Libya's leader, Muammar Gaddafi, to step down continues to grow. Even Libya's UN representative describes the country's regime as fascist. And anti-government protests continue to gather momentum in Bahrain with the return of a prominent opposition leader.
Welcome back to your international weather forecast. Well, across India, we're seeing a little bit of rain showers activity down towards that southeast portions, but not much to really make any accumulation. What we do need to watch out for is what is happening across the Bay of Bengal. Sri Lanka did have a break from all the flooding that they had over the last couple of weeks, but now we have another system coming in right here. We need to watch this very carefully, watch the movement. If it starts to make its way up towards the northwest, more flooding could be a potential there. Now, Karachi, Pakistan, we're looking at some temperatures that have been increasing over the last couple of days. We expect those to stay very, very high over the really to the beginning of the week, and the haze situation could also be a problem there. Down towards the southern part of Africa, we're looking at some flooding situations for Namibia as well as into parts of Angola. You can see it right here. That's going to be a problem for the next couple of days, but we're seeing some clearing conditions down towards South Africa, Johannesburg, Durban. You're going to be clearing out. Those temperatures are going to be warming up for you. In Mozambique, you will also be getting a break in your forecast. The rains will start to lighten up as well. Quickly over to the Arabian Peninsula, I want to tell you what is happening there. Temperatures have been quite warm. Doha, 28 degrees. This is what we've been seeing over the last couple of days. The haze has been a problem in the mornings especially. We're looking at Riyadh at 32 and Abu Dhabi is about 31.
Welcome back. Let's recap the top stories here in Al Jazeera now. The UN Security Council has voted unanimously to adopt sanctions against Libya's government. Protesters have taken control of most of eastern Libya and are closing in on the capital, Tripoli. Libya's deputy ambassador to the UN, who has now turned his back on Gaddafi, described Libya's regime as fascist.
The Tripoli regime has no longer any credibility. It goes without saying that this resolution represents moral support for our people who are resisting before the firing which has been imposed on them by the regime. There is an essential point in the position of the international community on the occasion of the carnage we are witnessing today in Libya. I have in mind here an attempt to protect civilians. This resolution will be a signal in order to put an end to this fascist regime.
Well, let's get back to events on the ground now. And Al Jazeera's Huda Abdul Hamid is in eastern Libya. She's got more on the events happening across the country.
Praying to God for help in surviving an intense battle in Zawiya, 50 kilometers west of the capital Tripoli. Gaddafi is the enemy of God, this protester cries out. Seconds later, the gunfire gets much closer. This video was sent to Al Jazeera after being filmed on Saturday morning. Zawiya is a strategic town with an oil terminal where opposition forces are gathering to drive Muammar Gaddafi from his last remaining strongholds.
Now there's only Tripoli and a few other towns left. That's why I urge the Libyan people that there's no going back. Going back's impossible. We have to move forward. All the patriotic, courageous and respected Libyan youth should help the people of Tripoli to carry out their duties.
Much of eastern Libya is already in opposition control, but these images, set to be filmed on Friday, show massive protests in Misurata, another western city 210 kilometers from the capital. Al Jazeera cannot independently verify this video or another said to be from Misurata that appears to show more soldiers joining the protesters' cause. Libya's head of special forces, the latest Gaddafi ally, now rallying for his removal.
I place all my expertise and capabilities at the service of the youth revolution. I urge all honest members of the special forces to rejoin their units immediately and to protect the gains of the February 17th revolution and protect the lives of the Libyan people and their property.
And this video shows exactly why Libyans need protecting. Heavily armed men drag away a limp body and stuff it into a car. Uploaded on YouTube, it also can't be verified, but is said to be filmed in Tripoli during Friday's clashes. Painting a different picture, these images, shot by Associated Press on a government-sponsored media offensive under the restrictions of Gaddafi loyalists.
Tripoli is 100% safe. There are no problems. People are going about their business. There are no problems and people are going to work.
It would seem this vision is about as useful as state television to show what's really happening in Libya, or just how much longer its under-siege leader can hang on. Most of the oil-rich East has fallen into the hands of the opposition. There is a sense of security, but it's a volatile situation. The opposition also says it has taken control of oil refineries, now operating at a minimal capacity. For people here, the most important is to retain the gains, keep the momentum, while they wait and see what happens in the west of the country. Hud Abdul Hamid, Al Jazeera, Eastern Libya.
Bahrain's opposition leader spoke to thousands of his supporters in central Manama on Saturday night. Hassan Mushamma called for the government to respond to the people's demands for far-reaching reform. The return of the senior Shia politician from exile is expected to boost ongoing anti-government protests. Another opposition march is expected to begin in about an hour. All powerful tribal chiefs in Yemen have joined